So,
as a matter of fact, I've been actually accused of being an East Coast person.
Oh, really?
Just because of my demeanor.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do have a little more of a, I guess, what's the demeanor? I'd say more
Asshole?
outgoing or more than typical people up here. I would definitely say so.
Well, you know why I don't stare at my phone all the time. I'm done with my. That's why that's there right now. And the only time I ever want to look at here's how I do things. If I have live people in the room and you want to engage, you want to have a conversation.
Oh, you got to put that thing away. Absolutely.
That goes like that.
Totally.
Yeah,
I like that. Yeah.
Why don't you start with the intro? You want to do the intro there, Matt? And we'll lead a
Sure. All right. We're at episode number 41 here, Shockwaves Skullsessions podcast, and our very special guest today.
We got Gary Shurtleff here,
in the house,
the Bay Area Bootleg Cowboy. You heard of the cocaine cowboys? You heard of the rock and roll cowboys? Well, we got our very own Bootleg Cowboy here, Mr. Gary Shurtleff.
This motherfucker's
welcome, Gary,
propping me up.
Yeah, and we're here at I guess we'll call it the Shockwaves Skullsessions Studio.
Absolutely.
Or the Shrine, should we call it?
Shrine.
Looking at his album, The Shrine, the Shockwave Shrine. That'll be the new
Shrine.
name of the studio.
You go. All right,
I, of course, am Bob Nalbandian, and my co-host, of course,
Bob the Man.
Hartnett, and my old friend, and Gary had to remind me, had to remind me of when we actually met, and it was back in 1991.
Well, we never met in person. We just met on the phone.
Through the phone. I was at Roadrunner Records, and I totally what was the station you worked at? It was in Concord.
K-E-G-R. Kager.
Big. It was
Kager,
you,
nice.
and there was a Reno station, Chris Payne, I think, a Z-Rock station.
Okay.
I remember the two West Coast that were, I just really had a really good communication. And there were a couple of, but there were a few in the Bay. I mean, obviously KUSF and, people I had known before, Ron Quintana. But I remember we struck a really good friendship. I was pitching all the, this was 91. So this was Sepultura.
You know why, Bob?
Hypo's
you know why, Bob? Because
album.
I was a metalhead like you.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
I grew up at that new wave of British heavy metal stuff.
And you were a young and college kid at the time, huh?
At that time, we communicated, what was that, 91, right?
Yeah, it would have been 91.
I was about 21, 22, 23, somewhere in there.
Right on.
Yeah, if my math is correct.
God, it's been years we've known each other. And then we've connected when I moved up to Sacramento, saw a couple really good shows.
That Zeke show, dude.
Yeah, we saw
Zeke. Yes, for Zeke. Nice.
What was the Zeke in Nashville
Zeke
Pussy?
in Nashville Pussy.
Yeah, that was a killer show
Awesome.
in Sacramento.
Yeah. Both you
Zeke
and I
were
at that
fucking
show
awesome,
were
yeah.
just like, holy shit, this is fucking sick, man.
Yeah, that was a great fucking show. So
nice.
Yeah, good to reconnect with you. And of course,
most definitely. Thank you for inviting me, dude.
Absolutely, you've had me on your great podcast, and. Now
that was a fun one. Didn't we do like 90 minutes?
We did. It was a long one. It was a long one. This is going to be a little bit shorter, but we're going to catch up. Basically, for those that don't know, I mean, Gary's been around. Obviously, we're talking about since the 90s, even the late 80s. You were part of the tail end of the old Bay Area thrash scene. You really were quite. I mean, I know you were a little bit too young to get to early 80s.
Not necessarily true. My first concert I ever went to was Rush at Oakland in 81. So I saw the Moving Pictures tour.
Okay.
That's a result of my brother. But when I started getting into...
Any Day on the Greens?
85.
Okay.
The Metallica one.
With Yngwie and...
That was actually my first introduction to Metallica was on the stadium.
Oh, wow.
So that's why when people ask me all the time, it's just like, why do you like fucking big arena, like stadium shows over clubs? And I go, there's something about that vibe where there's just tons of people just roaring and into it, and the band's feeding off it, and going back and forth. Dude, it hooks.
Well,
hooks,
I always
man.
say there's arena rock bands and there's club bands. You see an example like seeing a band like Soundgarden. I used to see them at the small clubs, Loud Love Tour.
I saw them at the Stone in 90.
They are a club band. I mean, Chris Cornell and that. You see a band like that on a big stage, or Alice in Chains, and I love these bands, but they don't move. They're not arena rock bands, but you see them in a small, intimate club. It's, you got that. When you see a band like Scorpions, they're fucking an arena rock band. Yeah. I mean, they put on the fucking show.
My first time of seeing Soundgarden, dude, check this fucking gig out.
Soundgarden, Voivod, and Prong.
Oh, yeah.
I was at that tour. Jezebel's
So was
nightclub
I.
in Anaheim.
Stone, San Francisco.
And I think I saw them at the Whiskey, too. I saw the show that they actually videotaped. You remember that Loud Love video that they used to sell?
Yeah, it's a piece of shit, but the audio is amazing.
Yeah.
Louder than live.
Louder than live, yeah.
Yeah, that promo CD.
Yeah.
I have
stuff.
that. I have one of those.
All right, well, we're going to talk about bootlegs.
All right.
Nice.
We're gonna get the FBI on our ass now. I guess now there's no such thing as bootleg since everybody's bootlegging.
Exactly.
Statute of limitations.
Yeah, not even that. Everyone's got their little iPhones and camera phones and smartphones and YouTube and posting everything they can online.
Well, let me say this. Even though it still feels like it's kind of legit, I still have buddies, and, they were in the documentary I did, right?
Sure.
I still keep in touch with them. My buddy in Philly still films shows all the time, and every once in a while, he does get shut down. He'll still film the whole entire gig, and maybe, I don't know, 3/4 of the way through, it's just like, sir, you have to turn off.
Really?
Yeah.
Does he have like a pro camera, or is it a phone? Because with phones,
It's not a phone. It's not a
okay.
phone. No.
Yeah.
No, he blends. He tries to blend. He tries to use what we all learned back in those days of just kind of... Because my whole thing is now, when people, kind of diss a lot of the people that are holding up their cell phones to capture, which I'm not a fan of.
Me neither.
I'm one of those
Especially after a
types
show.
where when I film shows, I would sit in the back of the arena.
Right.
That way I would be able to look at the whole entire spectrum of it and take it in, and grab, say, like a full stage shot, lighting, just give the perspective of just a whole overall experience instead of just zooming in and just leaving it there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, what annoys me is it's all for self-satisfaction with these kids.
Well,
today.
but at the same time, it is difficult not to want to record something if you're allowed to. Like, for instance, like last week I was in LA and I went to see Helmet. Right?
Oh, how was that show?
That was a great show.
Awesome.
30th anniversary. Played 30 songs. Played the whole Strap It On LP. It was great. But it was like, there was like one or two songs in there. I'm like, man, I really want to film this, but I also don't want to miss out on that minute or two that I'm filming it or miss out on the whole song. So what I would do is maybe film a minute or 30 seconds, just a little bit,
like
but just for a few
clips.
songs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I understand it is hard not to want to though just capture. Yes, for the ones that are sitting there holding the phones up for the whole show, that's a different story. You know what I mean? But it's so tempting to want to take a piece of that back home with you, and have that part of your.
I felt that same way when I was watching concerts back in the 80s. Especially Metallica. Metallica was that band that put it in my head. It's just like, I got to go home with this vibe. That band just really...
Well, they were all about that. They were all about the bootlegs and having people film
not
them.
in the early 80s, or I should say mid-80s. It came about Justice. Justice Tour is when they became taper
Well, they're
friendly.
very early
because I
days.
have taper tickets of when I did them at the Cow Palace.
It might have been different with video. Obviously, audio. I come from the days of audio, the old audio bootlegs, which I remember. And, this is the thing I think a lot of the younger generation won't understand. I mean, I'm, talking back from the 80s and 90s, all through the 90s. Bootlegging was a federal offense. I mean, it was some serious shit. I mean, I remember going to these record shows, record swap meets in the 80s, even through the mid to late 90s, the one in Buena Park. Your buddy Pounding Pat and all these guys. Were you friends with them? Or
Pounding Pat?
Oh, they call Pat. I forgot his last name.
I did know a Pat down there. I don't know if his name was Pounding Pat, though.
Yeah, he was he was the big Metallica
He was pounding
guy.
his Pud Pat. I know that.
But, I mean, he would always sell, but they would have to do a very inconspicuous. I mean, you would have raids, a lot of raids going down, and it was like a serious offense, bootleg, and I always bring it back to you. Remember, of course, the What's Happening episode,
of course,
the Doobie Brothers, the classic rerun.
Yeah,
kids watch it today. What's the big deal? So he was recording a show on the thing, and that was.
I actually wanted to use that clip in the Bootleg Cowboys movie. I did.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't. But
great.
Yes, I.
Well,
I
now
did.
that you bring it up, because I know you had it on YouTube for a bit for everyone to watch. You did a great documentary.
We had 8,000 views, believe it or not.
Yeah, I believe it because
Wow.
it was really well done. You had some major people: Ian Gillan, Dave Mustaine, a lot of the major I would say, bootleg guys at the time that did video bootlegs all over the world. Guys in Italy, guys all over. You had, and it was really, whether you're into it or not, or condone it or don't condone it, it's a very, very interesting documentary, and really shows how it reflects on today and what's gone on today, which we'll get into in a bit, and how it's just, now it's just the norm. And it's got not even the norm. It's just gone it's just gone ridiculous. But back then, you really had to. I mean, what's interesting is, it really is. I mean, you go to any concert. I mean, you go on YouTube. That's But a lot of these guys talk about what they had to go through to sneak through. I had to shove this in my it was up against my balls the whole time. I had to throw it against my, and I was uncomfortable. And I had to have the microphone sticking out of my crotch and through my asshole and going out this direction and this direction. I was like,
I had a microphone coming out my ass and coming up over my head.
Just to record a fucking concert, man. But it's funny. It's definitely a good watch. So, I know you can see some clips on it on YouTube, but we'll get. He'll give you all the information about it toward the end. But talk about how this whole thing came up. I know you were very involved.
When you say this whole thing, are you talking the movie or when I got into bootlegs?
Well, from when you got into bootlegs, and obviously how it evolved into making a whole documentary film about it. But talk about the beginning of how actually you got into. Now, did you start out doing audio bootlegs, or was it strict? Okay.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I would say the thing that put it in my head was those 70s double live records. Because I started with Kiss Alive as being my first foray into that hard rock realm. So the live record is where my experience comes from. It wasn't the studio.
Live records were huge in the 70s.
Weren't they, dude?
They were the best.
Fucking Rush, Priest,
no matter what
Trick,
Martin Popoff says.
Ted Nugent, Double Live Gonzo.
Unleashed in the East. Strangers in the Night. Come on. Thin Lizzy Live and Dangerous.
The best.
Oh, the greatest.
Strangers in the Night, actually, I have it number one. I actually did on
Humble
my page.
Pie Performance, Rockin' the Fillmore.
A top 20 of my favorite live records from the 70s. And there were two that I didn't own before, but when I was doing the research for this thing, I'm like, man, I got to fucking check that out. And Queen Live Killers.
That is a good album.
Holy shit, is that a
Brighton
great
Rock Live.
Blue Oyster Cult, On Your Feet, On Your Knees.
That's a good album.
Which I want to say is the fucking Grateful Dead of hard rock.
Yeah.
Because they jammed, but they rocked.
Yeah.
They fucking rocked it. So, yeah, that started my journey on hard rock with the live experience. And then I slowly got into the studio records.
Right.
But, when I started hearing more of the live stuff, I felt it. I felt it more and more. I was like, so that's what a concert must feel like. Right?
See, as a fan, because I started collecting, I wasn't a big bootleg collector back in the day, but we did it as fans because you want like Rainbow, Blackmore and Dio. Early
Stage.
Rainbow, On Stage. Oh. My favorite band, but I was so pissed about On Stage because here's a double album with 6 songs.
Yeah, it wasn't complete. It wasn't complete.
Yeah, Mistreated takes all of side 3.
No Stargazer.
No Stargazer, which was my favorite all-time song, And
Mine too.
wanted to get that live. There was a guy, you probably remember this guy. And we're talking early 80s, so it might have been before your time. Roman something. He had like a foreign name. I know Quintana knows of him because I know he's talked about him. He used to advertise in Circus and Queen.
Quintana knows everyone.
Circus and Cream magazine, I should say. And I ordered a Osaka, Japan, 1976. It had, because I wanted to hear Stargazer. I wanted to hear Tear It Woman. There were no songs on Rainbow Rising On Stage except a 1.5-minute version of Starstruck. So that's why we got these bootlegs, to hear something that's not available to the public, and it was like a special thing. And as fans, everyone, we all collected. Brian Slagle, I mean, he's admitted on the podcast, he was one of the biggest bootleg collectors of, Iron Maiden, of course, and Thin Lizzy, back in the day. And he had lists of that stuff. And
right.
It was something that we did not for money. I mean, there were a lot of people out there making money off bootlegs, obviously, albums that would press onto vinyl and even cassettes back then. But we were fans, and we wanted to hear exclusive stuff that, you couldn't hear.
Let me ask you this, Bob. Now, you were talking audio mainly there, correct?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
We're talking 70s, early 80s. Yeah.
What was your first taste of seeing live visual concert stuff?
Probably...
Like Don Kirshner's rock concert?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Don Kirshner's and Midnight Special. My dad picked up a Betamax machine pretty early on, like 1980, 81. Oh, wow. And I've told the story in the podcast before. We had, that was when Kirshner's came out. This is like the old giant Betamax machines, It weighed like 150 pounds. And when I would have to take it out to transfer movies from VHS, sure. I would have to bring it to my buddy's house and we would transfer videos. But I would record some of the old Kirshner's when, I would stay up late, watch that. This is just when MTV was coming out. And you remember MTV, you would have to wait, like 10 hours to get, to finally see the Iron Maiden, Wrathchild video or, whatever video, until you were able to get, the whole concert of Iron Maiden at the Rainbow, that full thing. And then you had to get someone from England that could transfer from PAL to NTSC. I mean, it was a whole big thing, or if someone had the two machines or whatever back then it was, but we collected that stuff. And I, had, some of the old, like when a lot of the new wave of British heavy metal bands, Venom and Tank and Anvil had their promo videos. I got a lot of those from a guy out of New York, and I would trade them. Local stuff I would have on cable TV of whatever, Great White, Odin, whatever.
Okay,
Slayer were one of the first to do videos from the Woodstock.
You brought up a great thing there, cable, right?
Right.
Okay, my first taste of hard rock on television came from this channel out of San Francisco called
Reality Check TV.
No, called TV 20, right?
Okay.
This is about 81, I want to say.
We had some of those.
They had a show called Rock World, and dude, it's so etched in my fucking brain. Saturday night, 10 o'clock, we turn on the TV, and when you channel surf, there's only 13 channels.
Right.
This is before, even though we had cable, we didn't have the cable box.
Sure.
So Channel 20 was on 13 out in Concord. Kid you not, Rainbow from Castle Donington.
I had Rock World. They did the whole half hour. I videotaped that.
Yes.
And I was freaked out because I'm saying Rainbow, they're going to probably show 10 minutes of it. And Motorhead, Chases Bear and the Catch was on that same day.
I watched that fucking thing,
out.
dude.
Yeah. and
Me as well, dude. I'm like 11 years old.
They had Richie Blackmore's guitar solo.
He's smashing it.
Catch a Rainbow. I'm like, holy shit, this is fucking awesome.
What, dude, wasn't it?
It was unbelievable.
So that was my first taste visually of seeing shit. And then when they talked about where it was from, it's Castle Donington. Yeah. And then I found out the record was out.
Yeah.
And then I picked up that fucking record with all those bands. Yeah. It's too bad they didn't
Rainbow,
show the Scorpions,
Riot,
Saxon, fucking Touch, and April Wine. Oh my God. Wow. So anyways, that particular show was what just put that shit in my head.
A national
and then
thing.
The Blue Jean Network, where they started showing Billy Squier and Journey, and
I don't remember that.
Dude, this came on Saturday afternoon. I was a TV watcher.
I remember Rock
Saturday
Palace. They had
this was called the Blue Jean Network, and it was on various channels in the afternoon. You'd be channel flipping around, like for example, it was on channel 12 here,
right?
And I'd just be like, "There's fucking Journey live from somewhere. I don't know where."
Oh, was that PBS?
No,
because I remember PBS had a Journey concert. And it was the Infinity Tour, right when Steve Perry joined, and half the set they did without Steve Perry. Their early stuff, which I loved. They're looking to the future next in their debut album with Greg Raleigh and Steve and Sean singing, Neil Sean singing.
Well, remember Billy Squier, right? They had a Billy Squier concert on there from that Don't Say No tour, which to me is his best record ever.
Yeah,
that's a fucking great record.
That is a great record.
Holy shit! What Do You Want From Me is still one of my favorite Billy fucking Squier songs.
You remember any of this, Mac?
Well, no, it's interesting. You guys are talking. So for me, growing up in New York City, we didn't have cable. I think I was telling you this one time, Bob. We didn't have cable.
That's right.
For the longest of time.
You didn't need it.
Well, we kind of did. That was the thing because there was, it didn't come until about 1987 is when cable finally came to New York City. It was out in Long Island. It was everywhere around it.
Wow.
Yeah, 87. So because it was like something to do with like the guy who owns the New York Knicks, James Dolan, his dad owned Cablevision, and it was something about they just I don't know, it was some kind of deal or something where so we didn't have cable. So for me, I had to get my aunt used to tape MTV for me. She would tape like 3 hours, 4 hours on VHS tapes and just give it to us. Once in a while, if I saw my cousin in Long Island, same thing. We put on MTV. That's where I remember seeing Last in Line, a lot of like Dio and a lot of that stuff that we never saw before. So for me though, for us in the city to see videos, like you say, it was through a PBS. It was actually through like a VHF, UHF type of channel.
Right. And
I remember seeing it was all the LA metal bands. We'd see like Armored Saint videos, Dokken, Autograph, all those. Okay. Yeah. So that's what really we'd see all this, but it sucked because we didn't have MTV to continue to see what you guys all saw until '87. So there was that time between like maybe the early '80s till about '87 where the only thing we really knew was whatever was on the radio.
Yeah,
I mean the local radio. I mean that was really much it. There was
local access channels that would sometimes show these. They would have like a video block from like during the day, maybe 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock, and it would be like a.
And then Friday night videos. Once in a while, we get maybe a metal video on one of those. Or something.
Night Flight was still cable.
Night Flight was cool as shit.
Yeah, it was.
It was,
and that's on the Roku now. I got the channel, but they got the Night Flight channel on Roku.
It's not the same.
No, it is all the old shows, but it's not. Every time you can see some of the original episodes, but it's not really set up very well to watch. But you could see a lot of those old episodes, which is kind of cool.
Sure,
yeah,
for sure,
absolutely,
for sure.
So let's talk about some of the best concerts that you filmed. Or not even you. Some of your colleagues filmed back in the day that were like
a long list right there.
Well, can you just stick it to like a top 5? What would you say is a top 5
that I filmed?
Bootleg? Either you filmed or your colleagues filmed.
I'm going to go non-metal on a few of them, so I'm going to throw that out there. Fuck you. Beastie Boys, Rollins Band, and Cypress Hill at the Bill Graham Civic in November of '92.
Okay,
amazing show. I was big time into the Beastie Boys just because they were one of the few bands that fused so many styles I loved, which was hip hop if it's done right, punk, funk, jazz, and lounge. They covered the whole spectrum. So when you get into the arena and, there's pot smoke more so than, our metal shows that we would go to. And when Cypress Hill hit the stage and, the lights came up, you're looking at this.
Talk about that.
For the fog. Yeah, exactly. So,
the fog. And there's this prop of a huge hand holding a joint the size of this room. Right. So I'm just looking at that and I'm going, this is going to be a fun show. This is going to be a fun show. Nice. And the funny part about that is you got the pot smoking Beastie Boys and the pot smoking Cypress Hill, and you got the straight
clean cut,
and then you got the clean cut Rollins in the middle. No, that's definitely up there. Metallica on flatbed truck show, free shows that they
Tower
did on
Records?
the Low Tour.
Or where was that? Was that the one at Tower? Or?
Yeah, there was Tower San Jose. I'll let you in on something that not a lot of people know. I got a call from my buddy in Florida who gave me a heads up, and he goes, dude, Metallica is going to do 3 shows in one day in your area. Go film them. I'm like, okay, where? And he goes, San Jose, Concord, and Sacramento. I was like, really? Okay. So San Jose was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Fucking awesome.
Right.
Got down there, filmed that shit. And then Concord was supposed to be at 6 o'clock. We hightail out of San Jose, get back to Concord, which is roughly about an hour away from
where you live,
from San Jose. Yeah. And we get to Tower Records, and we saw that no one's there. So we go inside, and we're just like, "What happened?" They're just like, "We couldn't pull the permits."
Yeah,
I'm like, "Oh," but they are going to play the Sacramento gig, and I'm like, "Well, it's another hour away." So we fucking drove an hour to San Jose to go see them. Came back an hour to go and fucking conquer, and it's just like, dude, we're on this journey. Let's keep going. So we go up to Sacramento, and we talk to the people in there. They're like, yeah, they're on their way. So we set up tripod. We started making friends with people, and this one dude backed up his pickup truck So me and my buddy set up tripods and filmed.
And no one cared at that time that you were openly filming?
Oh, Metallica at that time.
Yeah, they didn't care.
Fuck.
But,
No. But the reason why I say that is so cool is just because 3 shows in one day, supposedly, even though 2 happened, and they were free.
Yeah.
And it was Metallica.
And it was in a record store parking lot. You can't get cooler than that in 88.
Well, that was, and you can watch that on my YouTube page.
Yeah. I mean, Metallica were one of those bands that started out. I mean, you had, I was talking about this guy, Pat, Pounding Pat. He did a show on KNAC called Mandatory Metallica with Dangerous Darren.
Sure.
Back in the day. And I mean, I know there's all these mandatory Metallica shows, I think probably still going to this day. And they'll play, they might break out a rare song. Oh, here's Trapped Under Ice, something we never play, But on this KNAC show, they would play bootlegs. He would bring all these bootleg recordings. And I don't know how they got away with it on commercial radio. But KNAC was one of those stations that could do that.
No one important was listening. That's why.
No, it was a big thing. I mean, a lot of to the Metallica fans, it was kind of, and it was cool because you would hear songs that you never heard. Oh, this is Metallica from the Stone, and
Ron would do that on his Rampage radio show here.
Well, that was college. College radio was was a little different.
especially back when it's on 2:00 in the morning.
Exactly. But this was like 8:00 at night. So
right.
I imagine obviously Metallica knew about it in their management. They just said, whatever. This is what Metallica does.
Metallica doesn't give a shit about live stuff. They really don't.
Well, at that point, again, what we get into, what's happening today and what's happened back then. If it's done right as for a fan point of view, and tape trading, that was what we did to get. I used to record shows at the Woodstock Club in Anaheim because bands wanted me to. They would beg me to record them. Armored Saint, Slayer, August Red Moon. I recorded a bunch of their shows. And then I would sometimes get to the shows, and I took one of those giant ghetto blasters. They recorded fucking great, by the way. You remember back in the day, we're talking early 80s. That's what you didn't. You had the little cassette recorders, but they usually recorded like shit. Yeah. But I would drag in a big ghetto blaster. They didn't care. I mean, all the guys at the club, they knew me, and they, and I'd be holding it up, like that fucking Cusack could say anything, holding it up, and our armors get tired. Hey, you'd have to talk to your buddy. Hey, hold on.
Bob's in the house.
Want to get it over the audience, especially at a packed house, to get the sound. And they came out great. The problem was I would sometimes, the opening bands would find out I was recording because we would get the tape out to the underground tape list.
Right.
And it would go worldwide within.
Well, this is when you had your fanzine, right?
When I had the fanzine.
Yeah, Headbanger?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And but by recording the opening bands, and we're talking these years, you remember the giant D batteries?
Oh, yeah.
It took like 6 of them.
Sure, yeah. I remember that.
And by the time you recorded the opening band
they're
to the
dead,
end of the band,
right?
They're not dead. Well, yeah, they're dead. But what happens is it speeds everything up. So you listen to the end, and it sounds like the fucking Chipmunks, and you're like, motherfucker, why did I record the opening band? God damn.
Oh, that's
But
funny.
that happened many a times. But
that is funny.
I got to tell you a funny story, man. This is fucking hilarious. So 2012, the band I managed, Eden, does a big reunion show in Germany for the Headbangers Open Air Festival. We fly out there, fucking great time. It was unbelievable. But the guys at Eden used to be in August Red Moon. A few of the guys, and they were early '80s Orange County band. They were like the Orange County Motley Crue back then. And I used to record their shows and send them all out to everywhere. And we're talking to some guy, and he comes up and he's talking about, oh man, I got all these tapes from you. I got this and that one tape of a concert. I think it was August Red Moon. It was either at the Woodstock or Concert Factory, and he's talking, and he's drunk and talking. Yeah, and the guy grabs a chick's ass, and it was great, and this and that. And I'm like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? I'm like with the guys, from I think Dave and Gary from August Red Moon and Eden, and they're like laughing, and I'm like, oh yeah. I'm just kind of going along with it. And then afterwards, I go, he's going, what the fuck was that guy talking about? I go, dude, I have no idea. And then I remembered, and this is what was so good, how much of an impact this was a bootleg tape from like 1982 or something, 82, 83. And I go, what? He's talking about some guy grabbing some chick's ass, and this, one of those shows I vaguely remember, oh fuck, during the middle of a song, like, when the bands are tuning their guitars, I remember having the cassette thing, and there were these guys around. There was this hot chick with these hot pants, like these little tiny fucking, Red Moon were kind of a glamorous band. They would bring a lot of hot chicks, and they would just dress, scandal.
Nothing wrong with that.
And you could hear these two guys like, "Hey, go grab that chick's ass." Oh,
so that's what they heard on the tape.
Yeah, they heard. And this came through.
Oh, wow.
And we're talking 30 years ago. This was embedded in this guy's mind. And then the guy, like, it was hilarious because I remember the guy grabs a chick's ass and then he like walks back and then she like turns around all pissed off. Who did that?
Oh, she says it's all caught on tape.
It's all caught on tape. And then you can hear the dude, the chick's boyfriend come in. And you can hear her go, "Hey, there's this guy.
No way.
Which one of you fuckers grabbed my girl?" And they're like, "No, it wasn't me. It wasn't me."
That's classic.
And you can hear that on the thing. And this guy's telling me, and of course, at the point,
I heard it on your tape.
he goes, "I remember this on the tape," but he's all drunk trying to explain. He goes, "Dude, that's what got me to go to L.A. After I heard this, I got mad because we never had chicks like that in Germany that would dress like that. After that, it was like, you inspired me, man." I'm like, I don't know what the fuck this guy's talking about, but then it was like this 30 years ago. On a cassette bootleg tape.
Think about that.
It made an impact.
Huge impact.
That's amazing how you said 82 because 2 years
82
later.
or 83.
2 years
probably.
later is when I first heard my first bootleg. It was an Accept live in 84.
I had that one.
And I saw it at the record store in Rasputin's in Pleasant Hill. It was dude, literally, no, what they did is when they had their used tape section,
right?
They had, it was on the wall. So you'd look at the label and it was typed. It said Accept Live 84. And I was like,
those.
"How much? $7." So I was like, $7. All right.
Which was expensive back then in 84.
It felt like it.
Yeah. For a cassette. Yeah.
It felt like it. Nowadays, you just look at $7 and go, "That's a beer."
Yeah.
That's a craft beer. So when I heard that, I was like, "Man, this is awful. It's awful sounding." So
was that Paris?
I want to.
I remember there was a Paris
it's
one.
Europe.
A lot of them did.
I
That was a
don't know.
problem. But some of the bootlegs, just like the old demo tapes, they were so bad quality, but the songs were so fucking good that you didn't care. Some of the classic well, that was the thing back then. Even Merciful Fate, you remember Eindhoven? Right after
83, right?
83, right after
yeah.
the EP came out. That was a classic. And, I got that from the guys at Art Shock. They, Steph and Roy, we all traded. That one, the Silver Mountain one from back then, either them or Ron Quintana but everyone had those, and the bands loved it because it got them exposure, It was like, this is before they had deals. They only had demo tapes. So you wanted the live recordings of all these bands, Angel Witch, Sweet Savage, because, they were only available on demos.
Dude, thank God for Quintana up here.
Singles.
I would not have heard Silver Mountain if he did not play that on his show.
Yeah.
Because he'd just be like, "Oh, we're going to play Silver Mountain. It's like fucking 3 o'clock in the morning.
Jonas
Here we go."
And I end up managing Jonas years later, which is great. Still friends with him today. So what's your view in New York? I mean, obviously that was
in terms of.
Well, that was before,
You guys were a mecca for bootlegs, dude. That's where video.
Well,
bootlegs
you
you remember Joe he was a band called Character. He was one of my top guys. Yeah, he was.
There was a band called Character.
He was the one that sent me all those old, like the old Uli Roth, Scorpions, the old new, the Venom, all that stuff. He had.
All right.
He was the main guy, Joe. Joe, if you're listening, Joe from the band Character.
It's so
in New
funny,
York.
dude. Every single fucking person that I've dealt with in a bootleg world, there's a Joe.
Yeah.
There's a Joe.
Well, these weren't even
There's a Joe.
bootlegs. These were actually promo videos.
I had 2 Joes. One lived in Baltimore and one lived in Philly.
So did you do mostly rock shows? I mean, I know you mentioned before you did one with Cypress Hill and Beastie Boys, but was it mostly rock and metal, or was it just everything?
Mostly, yeah.
Okay.
I branched out every once in a while. Okay. I'm one of those types where I have an eclectic taste of stuff, but my heart lies more in punk and metal, more so than rock and metal. And that was my main thing was mainly punk and metal because I started off doing punk rock show. Actually, here I'll give you this one. you're familiar with the Gilman Street, right? The
Sure.
Gilman Street Project?
Yeah.
Okay. When that thing first started, which I think was around 87, I started going there. And when there were a lot of good bands going there, I started thinking, all right, maybe I should sneak in a recorder and audio tape this shit. Well, lo and behold, I was like, well, wait a minute, this is punk rock. Let me go talk to the sound guy. Yeah. So I go upstairs
the soundboard tapes.
to the sound guy. And I'm like, hey, man, can I get a soundboard recording? And he just go, you got a tape recorder? And I was like, do I have a tape recorder? I was just like, dude, I will bring a component tape deck with me, which I did.
Right.
I brought my component tape deck from home, brought it to the Gilman Street in a box, of course, so no one would see what the fuck I was bringing in. And I go up there, and I'd just be like, let me plug into that. And I said, whoever wants a recording after can plug into mine, and we'll, chain it along. So, yeah, I had NoFX back in the early days.
Wow.
Great band. I love that 2 members are dead is RKL, Rich Kids on LSD.
I don't know.
Dude,
that.
fucking
I remember the
amazing hardcore. Holy shit.
Bay Area band?
No. Well, they relocated to San Francisco, but they're originally from Oxnard, Ventura area. They're from I don't know if you ever heard of Nardcore.
Yeah, one of those guys just passed away recently, right? One of the, I think it was the singer of it.
Not recently.
The last couple of years, I think, or something?
I would say probably within the last 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want to consider that recently. But, so I would go there, and whenever I found out there was a band I liked, I just take my tape deck with me, plug in, and
he was cool about it.
Totally.
You know, John.
They didn't give a shit.
You know John Sutherland, right? Or you know the name?
Yeah, I know the name. I don't know him.
He was one of the
personally.
original metal guys. I mean, he was, we're talking back, he used to see Zeppelin's very first shows when they came around.
Okay.
And total metalhead, worked at Metal Blade, worked at Zomba Music for years. He was in my documentary, and he was telling me, and he talks about the documentary.
Stories,
he was saying at the Starwood, he would see like UFO at the Starwood. Obviously, Michael Schenker on the No Heavy Petting tour and stuff.
Are we talking like 75?
We're talking, No Heavy Petting, so that would be 75. But he would say the sound guy there, a lot of these guys, they needed money. And he said, "Hey, can you give me a ride? I'll give you a soundboard tape of the UFO show you just saw."
Right.
And or he like bought it off, or he needed money. Or I think he needed money for a cab ride. So he was saying, "Hey, I'll sell you this, for $15." He's like, "Fuck yeah! I just saw the most incredible show.
I need money
now
to get home.
get to take it home with me." So he said they would do that at the store. The guys would make tapes and then they would sell them. So. But whoever the sound guy is, if he's still alive, I don't mean to rat you out there, but that is a great story. Imagine that. I mean, you having an exclusive of UFO at the Starwood No Heavy Petting tour, the master recording.
Wow. and does it exist?
John probably still has it to this day.
No, I mean, does it exist on the level of just like, hey, John, okay, say like you were friends with John. John's like, hey, man, you want to come over and listen to that Starwood fucking tape I have?
Oh, I'm sure he would. Absolutely.
Oh, my God. Can you imagine that? Oh, shit, dude.
Yeah. I mean, that is classic stuff. I mean, some of those some of the really good bootlegs, especially when there's a special show when, someone goes on a rant or they do a song that they never played at other shows and stuff. I mean,
So to get back to your question, though, you were asking me about, like, top ones that I filmed.
Right.
Again, so many, but Pantera sticks out. And Slayer, when they came through and did their punk tour, when they, Undisputed Attitude.
Yeah.
Because they did 2 shows up here. They did one at the Trocadero Transfer, which I did film in a way where I was in the balcony. But because the way that balcony is set up, you have to, like, look over, not necessarily look over the edge. I'm just kind of giving a visual here, folks. I had to get my body up against the barricade and then, like, just do this.
Right.
So I filmed the show this way. I couldn't even look at it just because it was so packed. But I do have the full entire show. But the next
How big
night,
was this place?
Trocadero Transfer?
Yeah.
A couple hundred.
Wow.
A couple hundred, maybe.
Slayer were already pretty huge by then.
After the punk rock tour, all they did is club shows.
Right?
The punk rock tour, all they did is club shows. And I think they did that just to kind of bring that vibe of like, hey, Slayer's a punk band on this tour.
That was kind of Jeff
And they played the
Hanneman's thing.
Phoenix Theater in Petaluma.
Oh, yeah, we were talking about that earlier. Yeah.
Who just played there? You were just saying?
Soulfly, we were saying. We were talking about that, yeah.
Max Cavalera's?
Yeah, Cavalera, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't think they still did metal shows there, but yeah, the old Phoenix.
Oh, they do all kinds of
Still,
shit.
huh?
You know what? I've nicknamed that place, pardon me, I call it the beautiful shithole.
Yeah.
Because they book
never
so many
been inside.
amazing bands, but when you walk in there, it's just a graffiti.
Really?
It's just a graffiti mayhem.
For those that don't know, Petaluma's like wine country, beautiful area, and it's all rich,
But it's got the historic Phoenix there.
Yeah.
But Petaluma is a very bohemian,
it is,
very
absolutely,
hippie-ish,
right?
Yeah.
Yep.
very open-minded kind of.
Marin County in general is, right? I mean, yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
that's Sonoma
but still a
County.
lot of-
That's right. That's Sonoma. That's right.
Yeah.
You got Santa Rosa.
So I saw Metallica at the Phoenix Theater. I've seen Suicidal Tendencies at the Phoenix
What
Theater.
year did you see Metallica there? Was that
91 when they did that.
the special?
They did the two gigs.
Right,
I saw
right.
one out of the two.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think they did the Troubadour.
I tried to film it.
Tour. Yeah.
I tried to film it,
Yeah,
but it was
yeah.
so fucking hard, man.
bet.
So hard.
Well, there's something that Matt and I were talking about before is, say what you want about the bootlegs back then, or the bootleggers. I mean, again, we talk about how it was, literally you could go to jail. It was a federal offense. You would get the FBI. No, I heard a lot of people that actually did back in the day.
If you were sitting there selling them at those conventions, yes, you get caught filming, all they're going to do is just kick you out.
And they'll take the take.
Yeah. Or they give you the option, which I fucked with security quite a bit when I got caught.
Right.
Because they would try to read me the riot act like they're cops.
Yeah.
And I'd just be like, dude, you can't do nothing. Here's the options I'm going to tell you that you're going to give me. Either you're going to say, I'm going to be able to keep going, or I'm not. Yeah. So
again, I go back to, I don't remember if we started the interview with this.
Did anybody ever tell you can keep going?
The What's Happening episode with the Doobie Brothers. I love that episode with rerun films.
It is a great episode. It is.
But that kind of tells you how it was. But the point is, today, we were talking about how back then, whether again you condone or you don't condone bootleggers. They did it as more fans to make the band look good. You wanted to have a good tape, the band sounding great, the band looking great, the band in top form to put it out. If it was a mediocre, or one of the guys was drunk, or one of the guys had a sore throat or whatever, it kind of sucked. It wasn't. Nowadays, with YouTube and everything else, it's the opposite. People are looking to defame any art. Look at this guy. Look at Vince Neil.
And obviously capitalize monetarily off of it as well. Exactly, yeah.
Absolutely. Or look what he set up on stage. And then it's about me, and then you get on all the heavy metal news sites, and then you monetize your YouTube page, and you got 2 million. It's about that. But back in the day, it was really, you were kind of, monetarily.
It was also a passion, right? I mean,
it was
passion.
passion.
Yeah.
It was, you were a fan, and you were, but nowadays and this is the thing. What was the line you used?
For which time?
Well, we could chop this
Sure,
part
yeah,
out. What was the
for which time?
The quote. You said a quote by now my brain, but before you started,
Too much alcohol, Bob.
A author. We'll edit this out.
Was the
beginning of the movie? Out, Matt.
Yeah.
Sure he will.
No, who the fuck was he? I said, you got to use that quote. But right before we started, you said there's a great quote by so-and-so author, Bled.
William Randolph Hearst. If it bleeds, it leads.
There you go.
That's the society we live in right now of
absolutely.
media.
Absolutely.
Now think of it this way: that was all the way back in the. I mean, you saw fucking that movie based on his life, Citizen Kane.
Sure,
right?
Yeah, years ago.
It's based on him.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. When you watch that that movie, and you get the vibe of. Have you ever gone to his house over there?
The Hearst Castle,
yeah.
Gorgeous, yeah. Unbelievable,
dude. That's excess out of control, right there.
That is.
I did two tours of that place just because I'm like, all right, I went up that tour. Let me do another tour.
Yeah.
And I was.
I think they had
I
5 or 6 tours,
and I still didn't. Exactly, I still didn't finish it.
Yeah.
I was
insane.
like, holy shit! Look at this fucking guy. Look at this fucking guy, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, he had more money than anyone.
Anybody at that point, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, holy shit. Yeah. No, it's absolutely true what it's turned into. But it's always kind of funny to look back and see how times have changed, and now there's just no control over anything. And it's really come across as a negative about, people aren't there to like support the bands. People are there to like,
Bob said, "Alas for words."
People are there to, basically defame the bands. Like, look at this guy. Look how drunk this guy is. Look at this.
That's the first time I've heard Bob is lost for words.
First time. First and last.
Well, especially after I've heard your other interviews, I was just like, okay, Bob's doing a lead. Bob's doing a lead in. Okay, when's he letting the guy talk? Oh, shit. No, he's going to keep giving a lead in. Okay, here's the question.
That's me. I'm the
I love
rambler.
you, Bob. That's why I give you shit.
You obviously listen to my podcast.
Cool.
So, well, should we get into, again, we'll edit this part out because we got to wind this down now. I just want to find out what, before we talk about if you're going to put this back up on public or if you want to promote your movie or what you
I'd rather
say,
promote the podcast that we do now called Signal Jams, signaljams.com.
Okay.
And what we're basically doing...
Well, before we get into that, we'll kind of lead into the ending.
Shit.
Or, why don't you... we should probably wind this down, huh, Matt?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I know you got some stuff to promote. I know we'll get the movie, of course, Bootleg Cowboys. You can check out the clips on YouTube. But you got a new podcast you're doing, right?
Right.
Why don't you talk about that, Gary?
That one is called signaljams.com. Well, it's actually called Signal Jams, but the website is signaljams.com. And it's basically me and my longtime buddy, who I've known since '94. We are what we call the Generation X viewpoint of music. We investigate new music, whether it's anything from fucking hip-hop to metal to black metal to punk or whatever. We discuss it, we promote it, we give our opinions about it. And the other thing that we do as well is we kind of go backwards, and now we're doing these things called The Year That Was. We've already done about 26 episodes. I'm jazzed as shit doing this with him. We record it roughly about 2 or 3 times a week, and sometimes we do a couple of episodes, like maybe 2 or 3 in a day, just because we try and keep it around the 20-minute mark.
Right.
Because when we were doing research on, listenership, we realized that when you do these long-form podcasts, you probably get some audience, a minuscule audience that will listen to it all the way through. Or
people's mind span is short.
Sure, yeah.
Dude, I'm one of those.
Yeah.
I'm one of those. Sometimes it takes me 30 seconds to figure out whether I like a song. So,
do you play music?
And we talk about that.
Do you
on
play
there.
the music on your show?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but we don't go like all the way through the song. And we do comedy too. So we're bridging the gap of just all kinds of different shit from our experiences of being on this earth as long as we have. I'm 50 and my buddy is 51. So
old fucks.
Yeah, I know. Bob's the oldest. He's an old fart out of all of us. Anyways,
so where could you get this podcast?
Anywhere,
Obviously,
actually.
You got online.
Anywhere.
On your website.
You could actually listen to it on our website if you don't want to listen to it through your podcast platform.
I guess iTunes,
but we're on all
Apple
of them.
Music, Spreaker, all of
them.
Spotify. There you go.
My buddy fucking did it right.
Yeah.
He's just like,
well, that's like Matt.
We're going to hit
it
all
on
of
everywhere. Speaking of Matt and the Shockwaves Skullsessions podcast to close us up, we've got the website, which is looking damn good. He was just showing me.
Yeah, man, that should be all ready to go within a week or so. And with the Shockwaves Radio, we're going to be getting our shows up on there too. Buzzkill, we're going to be doing it's new music, kind of you guys doing? I mean, it's mostly just more metal and hard rock music, but it's mostly based on new music that's coming out. And of course, we'll get some guest DJs that are going to be on it pretty soon as well, especially leading up to the Bay Area Godfathers when that gets kicking in the new year.
Which will be coming out real soon.
You better invite me to the fucking
We got some
premiere
good
there,
footage
buddy.
from you on there, Gary.
Oh, why don't you talk about that since you have me here? It's just like, Bob, I donated a lot of footage to Bob.
Yeah, you did. There's some great, talking about the Bootleg Cowboys, you can see a lot of footage from some of the great Bay Area bands back in the day. Whether it be Testament, we got
Slayer.
Slayer, a lot of LA
Slayer
bands playing the Bay Area,
right.
I should say. But yeah, a lot of great footage that we incorporated. And then we did in the last episode, too, the rise of LA thrash metal, obviously. But that'll be coming out at the beginning of the new year, and you will definitely be invited. We are going to do some screenings here in the Bay Area, in LA, and most likely in Vegas as well. And Matt, what else we got going? You got the building up the website, which is looking damn cool, and the new radio. Let people know Shockwaves Radio.
Yeah, I mean it plays a lot of classic stuff, like a lot of the new wave of British heavy metal, a lot of the LA metal in the '80s, a lot of stuff that you hear on Bob's DVDs, the inside metal, LA, thrash and early '80s scenes. And I mean, and also just a lot of the underground stuff, a lot of, as you were talking about, Bob. There's a lot of like songs from even bigger bands like AC/DC and so forth. Songs you don't really hear much too many times on the radio.
Some of those, yeah.
So it's just a good hodgepodge, a mix of stuff from yesterday to today, and keeping it around that hard rock metal kind of style, not going too far off the beaten path of the 70s and 80s sounding kind of metal, but yeah.
So I should say, for Signal Jams, we do have two things that we do all the time. As every Thursday, we have this thing called Thrash Thursday, where we go through and either bring you new thrash, or we talk about an old thrash show that happened, or maybe a band we came upon. And then Friday is called New Music, and that's where we just go all over the place. And sometimes we play this game called Hate That Tune, where it's like, I can hate that tune in 10 seconds. And we have a lot of fun with that. We're actually thinking about bringing a little game show environment to it, too. So, Bob, if you want to come aboard sometime, I think it'll be
I'll probably hate every tune on there if it's new music.
Put death metal and stuff there for Bob.
You sound like me, Bob. I'm the same way, too. 'Cause, dude, my buddy is so positive when it comes to new music. I'm like, dude, most new music sucks.
So overproduced.
It's about maybe 5% that you'll find a good.
And people go, "Oh, you're old fashioned." You just it's not. It's like, listen to the shit.
Well,
it's
not really innovative. It's very they're emulating bands now. They're not creating, so it's a different. Yeah,
that's what it is.
It is,
and it's getting worse.
Unfortunately,
there's nothing inspiring and having drum machines and everything else. That's not real music. I'm sorry, people.
Yeah.
Even. Now, it's funny because I'm looking at Matt right now, and he's a New Yorker.
Isn't he a pretty guy? Look at him.
I'm not going to say he's pretty. Shut the fuck up. What are you trying to do to me here?
By the way you're looking at him, I mean, come on.
The way I'm looking at him. This fucking guy.
Okay, so you're looking at Matt right now.
Anyways, I'm basically saying to Matt right now, because he's a New Yorker, that what did you think of the new Agnostic Front record?
Well, I mean, you sent that over to me. I love it. I think it's great.
Okay, yeah.
I think it's awesome. I like the. I love old classic Agnostic Front. Course for Alarm is my favorite album by them. But
mine's Victim in Pain.
It's Victim in Pain. Okay, I know they were on that tour right now.
Yeah.
So I mean, I love that stuff. But I do love the new stuff. I do. I think it's great. Yeah. Okay. I wasn't a big fan of that stuff in the late '90s, early 2000s. Like what's that one? Gotta go. That album. I forget what it's called.
Yuppies?
Yeah, exactly.
Was that the one that was produced by Lars from Rancid?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That stuff, because it was a little more punk, where I like that metal edge to Agnostic Front when they include the metal in, not so much the poppy punk stuff, But, so I like it. I love the new, what was it, Get Loud? That's the new record, I believe.
Right. Yeah, when I heard it, I was like, I liked the music of it. It was Roger's vocals.
Well, he's getting old. Well, his vocals are, I guess it's...
Well, no, it was that. I was just like, whoa.
You can't really understand what he's saying. I agree. I like his older vocals better. I do in the 80s, yeah.
How old are they? Because they were early 80s, right?
Oh, yeah.
83, I think, or something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the other thing I should have mentioned, I'm going to do a year that was on my podcast, Signal Jams, called, I'm basically going to go through the year 1981, which I feel is one of the most significant years, not to mention the year that I got really into this music. But when you look through the history of what happened that year worldwide, blow your fucking mind.
Nice.
Well, definitely check it out. Once again, the website?
Signaljams.com.
Signaljams.com. Check it out. Gary Shurtleff, the Bootleg Cowboy, on the Shockwaves Skullsessions podcast.
Thanks for having me, Bob. This has been a lot of fun.
Dude, we will do it again. Since you're a local boy or local enough, we'll get you in the studio again. Maybe get some.
Boy.
He is 50 now.
You are a boy.
Man,
call me
right?
boy.
You're still a boy.
I know. Fucking 5 years older than me, and he still calls me boy. Fuck you, Bob.
All right, guys.
All right.
It was a pleasure.
Awesome.
We'll talk soon.